Hello, my name is Brett Spence, and today we'll be talking about the Boshin War. Alright, let's begin. Since the victory at the Battle of Sekigahara, the Tokugawa clan ruled Japan for 250 years, and during that time, Japan remained largely isolated and only dealt with its neighbors and the Dutch, mainly due to the fact that the Dutch only were interested in trade, which they did in Nagasaki on the artificial island of Deshima. The European powers and the United States were frustrated of Japanese isolationism, so the United States sent a squadron of ships under the command of Commodore Matthew Perry, which he arrived in Japan at Edo Bay on 8th of July 1853, and on July 14th delivered two letters to the Japanese government, one from President Willard Fillmore and one from himself, and two white flags. The letter from the president was asking for diplomatic and commercial relationship with the threat of war if they refused between the two countries, and the letter from Matthew Perry told them that he will return the following year, and the two white flags would be useful for them if they chose war. When he returned, Japan agreed to US demands and began the Wakamatsu, the end of the shogunate, with the Convention of Kanagawa signed on the 31st of May 1854, which gave the US two ports of Shimoda and Hakone to trade and allow an embassy to be open in Japan. This led to other Western countries like Britain, France, Russia, and the Netherlands to force Japan to have similar treaties with them. But the Japanese didn't take this lying down, with a strong faction in Japan wanting to self-strengthen so they can reverse the unequal treaties, and the shogunate started westernizing the army. This opening up led to deep internal divisions within Japan, where one side supported the shogunate and favored modernizing the country, and the other side were those who supported the emperor and wanted to expel the foreigners. The last emperor that held power in Japan was Emperor Go-Daigo, who ruled Japan for 3 years before being overthrown by Ashikaga Takauji, the first Ashikaga shogun. So the imperial's first step was to restore the emperor to power, which hadn't happened in over 500 years, and those who supported the emperor were the clans of the southwest of Japan, which fought against the Tokugawa clan during the Battle of Sekigahara, which ruled the domains of Satsuma on the island of Kyushu, and Chosu on the main island of Honshu, which were ruled by the Satsuma and Mori clans. During the 1860s, isolationists launched a series of murderous attacks against individual foreigners who were widely active in the country. The isolationists believed that these attacks would provoke the military intervention and lead to the removal of the shogun and the restoration of the emperor. But this led to the Western powers' demonstration of gunpowder diplomacy against the shogunate. For example, in September 1864, a British merchant named Charles Richmondson was killed by a group of Satsuma samurai outside of Yokohama. This Namanjui incident caused the outbreak of the Anglo-Satsuma War. The British government demanded £100,000 in compensation for the killing, which the shogunate did agree to pay to avoid military intervention against Edo, but the Satsuma clan refused to apologize or arrest the killers. So on the 6th of August 1863, a Royal Navy squadron led by Vice Admiral Augustus Leopold Cooper set sail from Yokohama for Satsuma's city of Kagoshima, where the British warships captured and burned 3 Satsuma merchant vessels and then bombarded the coastal batteries. But during the bombardment, the port city was hit, but luckily the city was evacuated before the British arrived. Augustus declared victory and left. The Satsuma clan eventually paid compensation to the British government. In March 1863, Emperor Komeiji had issued a formal order to expel the barbarians in confirmation of the shogunate's policy, and this unleashed the Mori clan, with all the foreigners living in Choshu were expelled by the harshest of methods, while coastal artillery fired on foreign ships passing through the Shimonoseki Strait. In retaliation, on the 16th of July 1863, the US Navy attacked 3 modern Choshu ships, sinking 2 of them and severely damaged the 3rd. And on July 12th, the French Navy bombarded the Shimonoseki coastal batteries. These actions only increased Japanese hatred towards the foreigners, prompting attacks against Western properties and legations. Fearing escalation into full-scale xenophobic insertion, the powers formed an international naval squadron with 9 British warships, 4 Dutch, 3 French, and 1 American support vessel. On the 5th and 6th of September 1864, in the Battle of Shimonoseki Straits, the European warships destroyed most of the Choshu military resources, and on the 8th of September, the Dominion surrendered after South suffering heavy casualties and losing most of their artillery. Moreover, the powers demanded that the Tokugawa shogunate pay the indemnity of compensation of $3 million, which was never paid. In August 1864, following the first of these setbacks, the Mori clan had launched a surprise attack against the shogunate troops in the imperial capital of Kyoto with the objective of freeing Emperor Komei from the control of the shogun. This Kimono incident failed in its aims, but caused the burning down of most of Japan's ancient capital. Enraged by this humiliating threat to the heart of his power, the shogun launched a punitive campaign against the Mori clan in September 1864. In fact, neither side had the means for a serious fight. The instigators of the Kyoto raid were arrested, but the government did not actually invade Kyushu. Tensions became further inflamed during the months that followed, and finally, in June 1866, the shogun launched a second Choshu expedition to crush the rebellious clan. But against all odds, the government army was soundly defeated by the Choshu forces, which had recently been modernized. In anticipation of the imminent conflict, many of the feudal contingents making up the shogunate's army were in fact sympathetic to the isolationist cause, and Choshu and Satsuma soon conducted a secret alliance. Later that year, the situation was complicated by the deaths of Shogun Tokugawa Iemochi and Emperor Komei, both due to natural causes. After the military disaster of the second Choshu expedition, it was clear that the Tokugawa shogunate faced external threats, which its only hope for survival was to modernize with a strong army on the western lines. In an atmosphere of fervent conspiracies among courtiers in both Edo and Kyoto, the main players in these disputes were all doing businesses with foreign arms suppliers and employing a few professional instructors, while Western diplomats competed to further their national agendas. To achieve a measure of modernization, the new shogun Tokugawa Yoshinobu invited a French military mission which arrived on January 1867. It was intended by Napoleon III as a tool to augment France's influence over Japan, but its practical task was impossibly difficult to reorganize, retrain, and modernize the military forces of the shogunate on a Western model as soon as possible. At the same time, the shogun requested a military mission from Britain to modernize the shogun's navy, but the mission barely got started due to the start of the Boshin War and Britain wanting to remain neutral during the war. The French military mission arrived on the 14th of January 1867 and had 17 members, and despite their tiny numbers, in a little more than a year, they were able to train a select unit of some 900 soldiers called Denshutai, which was the elite force of the shogun's army, which were recruited from the poorest of the samurai class. The Denshutai had 3 branches: infantry, cavalry, and artillery, and were equipped with modern French rifles and artillery, and the cavalry were light cavalry equipped with lancers and carbines. But the mission was ordered to return to France, but some stayed and fought for the shogun. In February 1867, the ambitious 15-year-old Emperor Meiji ascended to the Japanese throne with the intention of restoring the ancient powers of the imperial family. In November 1867, under the pressure from the Yamaguchi clan, who had joined the Southern Alliance, the shogun formally resigned his authority to the emperor. In practice, however, he was still strong enough in the northern provinces to continue exert considerable influence, and he had no intention of tamely accepting the ascension of the boy emperor to absolute power. Join me next time when the war kicks off. See you next time.